So it's looking like after Kraven the Hunter that comes out this week, Sony's Marvel Universe will end.
I'm Spider-Man.
There's so much I want to get into with this rumor because we've talked about it so many different times and kind of wished for this in a way. But before we do that, we're on the road to 2,500 subs. We're almost at 2,400. I think we need like 20 more. So if you're new to the channel, I would love to have you here. Also, leave your comments down below with your thoughts because I read every single one and I most likely will respond. Now let's go ahead and discuss this rumor because I want to talk about several different things. According to The Wrap, Kraven the Hunter, which releases this week, will be the final film supposedly for the SSU or the Sony Spider-Man universe, or used to be called the Sony Pictures Marvel Characters universe. It was very confusing. We know the track record of this cinematic universe, having all of these Spider-Man characters without any Spider-Man at all. We've had 3 Venom movies with no Spider-Man. We had a Morbius movie without Spider-Man, and we had Madam Web, which we don't need to go into detail there. Up next and supposedly finally is Kraven the Hunter, and it does look like it's going to be the best out of all the SSU universe films, but with very low ticket pre-sales and not a lot of hype surrounding the film, I feel like they're kind of now reading the room. That, along with Spider-Man 4 being their next main focus, it looks like they're shelving all of the extra universe type stuff for now at least, which in my opinion, I hate to say it, is a great thing. These Sony Marvel movies recently with Venom 3 have always, in my opinion at least, been subpar. The Venom movies, yes, they're very fun. I actually kind of enjoy those. But the other things that they're trying to do with this universe in terms of building up a multiversal Sinister Six, telling stories about obscure Marvel characters that not many people know, like Madam Web and maybe even Morbius, and not having Spider-Man in them at all was just very confusing and puzzling as to why they're even doing this in the first place, let alone having the stories be about the villains where they're not actually villains. We don't need to get into all of the misdirection with the marketing of those movies and kind of how they turned out because we all know they're pretty much a failure, at least in my opinion. Now commercially, the Venom movies actually did really well, especially the third one. It did pretty decent, but critically they just didn't hit any of the home runs that they were hoping for. We all know the ongoing battle and kind of cooperation that Sony has to have with Marvel Studios in order to have Spider-Man be a part of the MCU and for Sony to keep the rights to these Spider-Man characters. Personally, again, I think it's very smart for them to stop making these because the fan reception has not been glowing and they should really focus on working with Marvel Studios for Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland, and then continuing their amazingly successful Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, and Beyond the Spider-Verse animated films. Now, I haven't seen Kraven yet, and I am excited to see it, of course, not for any sort of Marvel connective MCU things, because, well, we know that it's ending now, which I want to also talk about because this news coming out right before the release of their final film doesn't necessarily do anything, in my opinion, to bolster sales or get people excited. It feels like they're going to be throwing in the towel before this movie even comes out. I don't know. I think that's just a very weird choice. I am still excited for Kraven, and I did enjoy my time with some of the aspects of the Venom films, but I'm very glad that this is going to hopefully be over. Sony has to keep making movies like this to keep rights to the characters, so I understand why they're doing it. Spider-Man is their biggest cash cow, in my opinion, and I understand why they want to keep putting out these films so they can keep having these characters in their wheelhouse. But there comes a time where the quality of the work that you're putting out is not meeting anybody's expectations and is kind of just messing things up even more for other studios such as the MCU, where you have to kind of read the room and be like, okay, let's pump the brakes. I mean, we were supposed to get a movie based off of El Muerte, played by Bad Bunny. I mean, nobody knows who that character is unless you read the comics. And Sony seems to not even be able to use Peter Parker in any of their movies, so why are they even doing this in the first place? I feel like this was just bound to happen. It was a matter of time, and honestly, like I've said a million times now, I'm glad it's happening now rather than later. That way they can focus on the amazing animated movies as well as Spider-Man Noir on Amazon and Spider-Man 4 for the theaters. If I just look back on the Sony Spider-Man universe movies, it just reminds me a lot of memes, nothing else. I mean, of course, we have the Morbius post-credit scene where Vulture shows up and is like, I'm here because of Spider-Man for some reason. And then we have the Venom post-credit scenes with him going to the MCU, but the MCU being like, I don't want you here, and then kicking him back. And then Madam Web, of course, no comment. Look, I'm going into Kraven with an open mind. I want to really like this movie. But knowing what Sony has put out in terms of their Marvel movies and their Marvel universe in the past doesn't necessarily give me a lot of hope. It is at least rated R, so I am excited for that, but let's just see how this movie is, and then I'll form my opinions in a video reviewing it and breaking it down. Guys, most importantly, I need to know what you think down below in the comments. Like the video, it would help me out so much if you could do that. Also join the channel. I would love to have you here, and I will see you all very, very soon.